Welcome to my journal. I made this journal to just have a space to speak my mind freely. Oftentimes, I go through my day just having these thoughts go through my mind, and I have nowhere to share it. So I just decided, why not make like a little public diary where everybody can input their ideas and help me convey my thoughts better, maybe understand a new perspective to grow my mind because I love to learn. Now, we're going to be talking about any and everything, honestly. I just think about a lot of things, and I just wish more people could hear. And so that's really the goal. I want it to be like a journey in my life where as I learn things, as I grow, I have a place to just document and have other people follow me along. You may hear me go on tangents because sometimes I even figure things out as I just speak because that's the way that I learn things. But I hope we have fun. I I want you guys to join me on this journey and don't feel restricted in what you have to say. Speak freely because that's the only way that we can all grow. Now, I am Christian. I do believe in God, but this is not going to be a religious channel. It's a place to just convey my life thoughts. So don't get scared away if you hear me speak about God or speak about how I think God did this in my life or how I think God does all these. No, just listen to what I have to say objectively. Because I will speak about a lot of things just objectively, no bias, no nothing, because that's the goal. So I hope that you can join me on this journey where we all learn and I'll continue to speak our minds and learn life freely. Now, let's listen to some jazz music and get into this topic. Discipline. Discipline is something that we all want to achieve, something that we all want to be, but it's hard. But I believe that I figured out a way to make discipline easy. Not easy in the way where you'll just be able to do whatever you feel like just by wanting to do it, but in a way where you can actually make discipline doable for you. I think we all have misconceptions of how we're supposed to be disciplined. Often we watch people who are further ahead of us in their lives, people who have achieved great things, and watch their routines and try and model after them. They'll wake up at 4 a.m. in the morning, take a cold shower, go to the gym, get some work done, have time with their family, and you'd be like, wow, how can they do all of this? How did they have so much time in their day? And that's what I was thinking about. I was like, why is it so hard for me to do what they do? Why is it so hard for me to just pick myself up and just do work even if I don't want to? And I realized it's not just a thing of just bulldozing through. And I had realized there was something common between all these people. It's not their mentalities, it's not the fact that they just wanted to do the hard thing, it's the fact that they made it easy to do the hard thing. When you hear these people talk, they're just like, man, I don't want to wake up this early. You think I really want to do all this? But yet they still do it every day. And I figured it out. It's structure. The reason why they're able to do all these things in a day, the reason why they're able to achieve their goals, despite of them actually wanting to do them, is because they structured their day in a way that allowed it to be easy for them to achieve their goals. And as I was thinking deeper into this idea of structure, I understood that there are macro and micro structures. Macro structures in the things you do in a day. So waking up in the morning, taking a shower, brushing your teeth, eating food, going to the gym, going to school, all the things that you do in a day, that's your macro structure. Your micro structure would be the things you do within those structures. So when you wake up, the first thing you do could be laying your bed. When you eat food, you cook food that'll make you feel good. When you go to the gym, you hit a workout with purpose. You don't get distracted by your phone. Those are the macro and micro things that you can do to make yourself more disciplined, but it all falls under structure. Whenever you try and model these people's structures, haven't you realized it's so difficult for you to do it because you don't understand the micro things that they do within these structures? You don't understand how they got to this step. You're looking at their level 100 structure while you're still at level 1. It's not going to work. And I think it's important for everybody to build their own structure. You have to understand yourself. You have to understand what you want to achieve, and you have to build your structure based on that. You have to realize who you are. You didn't grow up the same as them. You don't have the same goals as them. You don't think the same as them. Something they can do, you can do, because we're not all the same people. You have to understand what your desires are, and you have to discipline them. The most important thing when trying to build this structure is actually using your desires to build up that structure. Oftentimes you are disciplined in your desires, but you haven't disciplined your desires. You wanting to be disciplined is already part of a desire. It's just not stronger than your desire to be lazy. You have to change that desire. You have to use it as a tool to make you better. Really think about it. We have these 7 deadly sins: lust, greed, pride, sloth, all of these sins, all of these things which are at the very core desires. Those are things that we tend to just want in our being, fleshly desires. But are they really all bad? Can you not find a way to turn those desires into something that can make you productive? Let's use greed for an example. Could you not use greed to help you build a business that can make you comfortable? Could you not use greed to help you strive to want to be better, to help you strive to achieve greater things for yourself if your goal is monetary gain? The most important thing is to be disciplined in that greed. You have to know when to stop. You have to know how to balance yourself to make it so you don't lose who you are. And again, that's where structure comes in, but you still have to be disciplined. You have to be disciplined enough to use those desires to make you a better person, to make you achieve better things. That's the way to make discipline work. That's the way to make your structure work. You have to understand what you desire. Think about what you do in a day that makes you feel not disciplined. When you wake up, the first thing you might do is pick up your phone and doom scroll. You are disciplined in using that phone. Every single morning you do the exact same thing. Is that not discipline? That's part of your structure. But you have to understand why you pick up the phone. Why is it that you use the phone instead of waking up, standing up, and maybe doing meditation or just thinking about the day? That's where structure comes in. You have to make it easy for you to do the good thing. Put your phone in the other room. You've put up resistance between you and your phone. Now you can fill that space with something more productive. And that's something that these people have figured out. They figured out how to make it easy for them to do these things. And it wasn't easy for me to come to this conclusion. And of course, I have to give props to God, because he was the one that actually made me come to this conclusion. And I learned this lesson from a story in the Bible about the Israelites and how their kingdom fell apart. It wasn't a direct lesson. It was more of an interpretation on how straying away from a proper structure can make your whole life fall apart. This story shows how the Israelites, they had a structure, a good structure that worked for them. They relied on God for guidance. They relied on God to teach them the right things to do to be able to take over their promised land. The Israelites were going through like a crusade where they were warring different countries to take over the land that they were promised from God. And in the process of doing so, they started to mingle with these other kingdoms. They saw that they had kings. They saw that the people ruled over themselves, unlike the Israelites who had God that they had to rely on. And it was clear that they became envious in the freedom that these kingdoms had over themselves. And the Israelites decided that they no longer wanted to confide in a priest to talk to God, and that they wanted to have kings for themselves. And the priest at the time was not going for this and said no, but God told him, let them do so. And they did. They had kings, multiple kings. We obviously know about King David, King Solomon, and their stories. But what I really want to focus on is how during this time of kings, some kings would fall back into the Lord and some would fall into the ways of the other kingdoms. And during these periods where the kingdom would fall into the Lord, they would thrive, they would prosper, they would be one of the strongest kingdoms in the land. But whenever they would turn to false idols and worship other gods, they would start to falter. Their kingdom would actually start to fail. And that's what I mean by structure. You see, they had a structure for themselves. What other kingdoms did not work for them, because each individual kingdom has their own structure that can actually work to help them grow. And by following other kingdom structure, it would be like trying to fit a square shaped block into a circle hole. So that would be the perfect example of a macro structure. The idea that they can follow the general structure of what the Lord gave them and they can succeed, or they can choose to follow their desires and continue to fail. The microstructure example that I got from this would be the individual kings. The perfect example of this would be during the times of David and Solomon. Both of them followed the general macro structure that God gave them, but the microstructure that they followed in themselves caused them to fail. David lusted after another man's wife, ended up killing the man, and he got punished for that. Solomon, he got the wisdom of the Lord, he honored him, he venerated him, but he had 700 wives. He was extremely lustful. So while the general structure of their lives followed the Lord, the microstructure in their lives actually didn't, and they failed, because macro and microstructures are just as important together. You have to be in the right place, but also doing the right things. And this story actually means a lot to me, only because at the time of reading this story, I was going through something that was literally one-to-one to the story. There was a 3-month period where I was extremely disciplined. I would wake up at the same time, do the exact same thing, and I would be actually focused on what I was doing during those times. But then I started to falter. I started to choose my desires, and it all came to a head when I went to my home country and I completely fell out of my discipline. I stopped waking up at the same time. I stopped doing my due diligences, and I ended up just being disciplined in my desires. And it was exactly the same as the kingdom of Israel. At the time that I was fully disciplined, my structure was going well. I was actually being successful in myself, but when I decided to fall out, I would struggle. The part of my life that I decided to not structure any longer, it would be a point of weakness in me. And at a macro level, I stopped doing everything I was supposed to do, which would be similar to how the kingdom's history as a whole was going by. But at a micro level, similar to David and Solomon, I was also failing, because while sometimes I would do the things I was supposed to do, other times I would do what I wanted to do. And while this story may not seem like it has anything to do with discipline, you can apply lessons that you have in your life and things that you see everywhere and transform it into a form that can actually be beneficial to you. My deduction from this was structure, and how structure is actually the true form of discipline. Now, please don't take everything that I'm saying and then just apply it to yourself. It's not going to work. Like, even for me to reach where I am mentally and physically, it took years. At the beginning, it was extremely slow, and it was so small that I didn't even realize it was happening. I didn't grow in my faith immediately. I didn't even realize I even believed in God until much recently. So you have to take it slow. If all you do in a day to discipline yourself is not using your phone in the morning, first thing in the morning, right? Maybe you just make your bed before you touch your phone, and then you can use your phone. You can start with that. Don't feel pressure to just change your whole life, like you just felt some divine intervention or something. No, just take it slow and move at your own pace. So now, if you don't think about making a whole macro structure to make your day disciplined, you can just have one small microstructure that you don't allow yourself to give up on, that you're disciplined in. And as you do that, you just slowly spread that into other parts of your life. Because at some point, that discipline that you have in that one part of your life will actually influence you to want to be disciplined in other parts of your life. It'll feel like a disconnect. And to take your discipline to the next level, you have to be so disciplined and so focused on your discipline and your structure that even when you think your structure is the best it can be, you look to improve it. You're disciplined in wanting to be more disciplined. That's a new level of discipline. And that's why I say discipline is just so, it just encompasses a lot of things, and it's a state of mind. You may think you're disciplined just because you have a structure, but are you disciplined in that discipline? Because the reason why you achieve the structure is because you were disciplined enough to achieve it. Why can't you be disciplined enough to want to keep improving it? Why can't you be disciplined enough to want to be better? Why does discipline just stop once you have your set structure, your set schedule? Discipline has to keep encompassing your life, but don't let it overtake you. You have to balance yourself. If you understand that you have to give up one thing to apply another, you're going to have to give it up. If you personally just can't keep going, stop. If what you have makes you feel content and you've achieved everything you've achieved, that's good. Stop then. Because again, it's your life. You know yourself and you know your limits. Don't get so stuck up, so caught up trying to be better than everybody else or even be better than yourself that you end up losing yourself. Know when to stop. And that takes true discipline.